Hello, my name is Patricia and welcome to my channel. This is Mystic in the Matrix and episode 3. I'm really excited actually for today's topic because last topic was pretty heavy. It was about domestic V. So, that was a little bit intense and heavy and very emotional for me. This topic though that I got to pick from the basket, oh my goodness, where did I put it? There it is right there. Bigfoot. We get to talk about Bigfoot. So yeah, I make my own little envelopes and put them in and everything. There it is. So here we are. Thank you for joining me. Let's have a Bigfoot story today. Bigfoot in the Matrix, in the world. So first let me tell you about my story, my personal experience, because yes, I actually have had a Bigfoot sighting. That's why I'm so excited about it. I think it's a fascinating subject. And when you have had a little bit, when you have had that connection to it, that personal experience, yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's interesting. It's an interesting thing to experience and to share with others, and to also look at other people's stories as well, to kind of compare and go, oh my God, that was so similar. But anyways, I digress. Let me start with my personal story and then I can branch out from there. So, setting, about 1974-ish, I would have been around 9.5 maybe. My brother, being 2.5 years older than me, was around 12. So we lived out in what's called the Northumberland County, that is in Ontario, way out in the country. We lived in this old haunted farmhouse, which I'll save that for another story. So here we are in this old farmhouse. It's just my brother and I, my mom and my dad. And so this one night, my parents decided they were going to go visiting and leave my brother and I at home. They thought, you know what, we're a 20-minute drive away. What could happen? And so it was kind of like one of our first times of us having to step up to that responsibility and, being accountable to take care of ourselves so that our parents could actually go out and enjoy themselves for a night. So where we lived was the Northumberland Forest was basically just behind the fields behind our house. And so we were surrounded by forests. Excuse me, I have an itch. We were surrounded by forests, and our closest neighbors were a couple of fields away. One of them was a tobacco farmer and the other one actually had cattle. And so back then, you knew who your neighbors were. That was really important, part of life in the country is who your neighbors are. So that's another reason why my parents weren't that afraid to leave the two of us as tweens on our own in a haunted house out in the countryside. So there we were. My parents left. My brother and I, we, open up that bottle of Coca-Cola, grab those bag of potato chips and dip. And let me say, in the 1974s, at that age, that was a really big deal. Being able to have Coca-Cola and Ripple's potato chips. I don't know if that was the brand or not back then, but it was a big deal. So we put on the television, and just so you know, back then, all we had was rabbit ears on top of the house. It was just an antenna. That was it. We just rabbit ears. So we were lucky to have 3 channels at best. So when we did get something in and it was able to focus, we were pretty thrilled with that. We didn't even have VCRs or like anything back then. Our movies were on like reels and you had to have a projector and stuff. So we didn't even have the luxury of VCRs back then. So bear with me here. Just think about, so what happened at that point, we were watching MASH. So MASH was on. It was a huge favorite back then. I don't know if anyone who's in my generation will know exactly what MASH was all about. And for the younger people, definitely go look it up. It was a really good series that had to do with the war, the Vietnam War, or the Korean War. Not sure which one, both same timeline. But anyhow, so that had just finished, and my brother and I were like kind of arguing about what should we do next, what should we watch next between these 3 channels. And he was like, I'm older than you, so I get to decide. And I'm like, okay. And at that moment, our dog started barking. We had a white German Shepherd, Casey, and she was outside, tied up out there out in the farm. She had a big area in her big dog house and such. And she decided to just go crazy, which scared us because we knew that she was a guard dog. And if she's barking at something, then you know darn well she's barking at something. Could have been a bear, could have been a pack of wolves, like we didn't know. So my brother, he immediately turns off the lights, and in our living room, because the house is up higher in that area, was a big bay window, and that bay window overlooked the front yard area, and then there was like a hedge that enclosed it, then there was like a big dirt road, a tarred road, however you want to say it, gravel tarred road out going parallel from us, and then beyond that was a forest. So the moon must have been very bright, because we could clearly see, although it was dark. And so we're looking at this window, and we're like, is there anything there? I don't see anything there. There's no shadows moving. And just as we're about to go, we don't know, because she's still barking. This is probably about 3 minutes into it now. She's still barking. So we're looking, we can't see shit. We don't know what's going on out there. And then all of a sudden, coming down that dirt road was a silhouette you could see, but you couldn't see detail, and it was going so fast. So out front of our house, running down the road at a very, very fast speed, was this creature that would have been around 6 feet to 7 feet. I'd say about 7 foot, about 7 foot tall because of the perspective of where we were. It was about 7 feet tall, running with its arms swinging by its side, like on 2 feet. This was not an animal galloping. It was on 2 feet, running with arms swaying, and it was huge, and it looked like it was covered in hair. So at that moment, my God, my brother went running into my parents' bedroom, grabbed the shotgun. So now seeing him with the shotgun, I'm more afraid of my brother than I am of this creature that's out there. It was scary. It was really scary to see, because you're like, oh my God, what the heck is that? As a kid. But at the same time, common sense, it's running down the road that way. Our dog's barking over on this side. I don't think it's coming back. So nervous but calm, but my brother now with a shotgun, oh dear Lord. Again, back in the 1970s. So that was a thing. And so to end that story up, when my parents did finally come home, which wasn't that much longer afterwards, we told them what happened. And my mom, like, she's more concerned about my brother with the shotgun too, and than anything. But my father, he looked at us and he went, oh my God, you guys, you just had a Bigfoot sighting. And we're like, a what? He goes, Sasquatch. You just had a Sasquatch sighting. That, what you described, is a Sasquatch sighting. How my dad knew that, I'm not really sure, because back in those days, there was no computers. There was no, like, I don't know. I don't know how he knew that. My father knew a lot of strange things, which we will get to in other videos. But yeah, so we had ourselves a Bigfoot sighting. So moving forward to being an adult, and what I did, like, so early 2000s, like 2004-ish, I'm going to say, pretty much close to that time frame. So around 2004, 2005, I got my first computer. And one of the first things when I had my internet that I went running to go look and see was, who else had Bigfoot sightings? Who else had Bigfoot sightings? And the crazy part was that area where I lived in Ontario had a lot of Bigfoot sightings, dudes. Like, and I started crying. I cried because I went, it's true. It's true. I knew in my heart of hearts, I knew in my intuition what I had experienced, and held strong to it. And, it's interesting because years later, actually probably would have been about 2 years after I had my computer and discovered that, when my brother came to visit my kids and I, one of the things I started talking about was this story of Bigfoot. And I'm like, dude, okay, you have to understand, my brother, in his life, he turned into the military. He was a sniper. he was artillery, that kind of stuff. So he was a no-nonsense, practical-minded kind of person in his thinking, all right? So anyway, so he comes for a visit. And one of the things I said to him is, I said, dude, you've got to tell my kids that I'm not bullshitting, that we experienced what we experienced, we saw what we saw. And thank you, dear brother, he validated that to my children. So that they know mom's not totally crazy. A little off the rocker some days. Yes, okay, I get it. I'm out there a little bit. But it's true. It's a story that holds value, and others share many similar things. Now, though, that I have looked into it, and I'm an adult, I'm not a kid anymore, I'm still obsessed with Bigfoot. I really kind of feel like once you've had that connection to it, because as a mystic, I feel like there is this connection between Sasquatch and humans, that the Sasquatch chooses who they show themselves to, that there's a reason in our timelines when we have this experience with them. I don't know the answer to that, but I really feel that. And so I do venture off on, like, if I'm going for a holiday or something, I do go to Bigfoot country. You know, I haven't had that experience yet, but I really feel like at some point in time in my life, especially if I make space for it, that could be a possible thing. Now, the internet is full of experiences and stories, and you know, they're not all I have to kind of go, okay, Bigfoot doesn't always sound like a good guy, man. Like, you read some of these stories and they're scary. They're intimidating. You know, like, depending on what part of the world you're in too, like, they sound way more aggressive in the States than they do in Canada, from the different stories that I'm reading. Like, here in Canada, I mean, in the US, it sounds like they fucking hunt you down, man. But here in Canada, we have more of, like, the breaking of trees. You know, there is the sounds that they make. Like, for example, I have not experienced this, but from stories that have similar experiences, like they call out, like, someone, help, help, or babies crying. Like, they know how to mimic sounds now to kind of, like, lure you. I mean, that's intelligence, folks. That's intelligence. If the predator's luring you in this way, I mean, come on, these guys they outdo us. Now, on a practical level, I do look at them as, okay, so, like, if they are just like animals, think about the Wolverine. How many people come across a Wolverine? Dear Lord, they're terrifying. There's a whole bunch of them out there, but they're not something people get to see on a regular basis. And it's rare to come across a carcass of them as well. But we all know there's a lot of Wolverines out there, but we don't see them. And the same could be applied to the Sasquatch. The same could be applied to other species of animals that are out there. So perhaps they are just another animal out there who is in evolutional upgrading. And so one of my things that I'm a big believer in is an animal's an animal. Even with dogs, I would never leave a small child with my dog. A dog is a dog. They have huge teeth. Something can scare them. They can react to something. An animal is an animal, and we must respect their strength and moment that they could just go, and we would have no chance against them, because we are not. I mean, look at our tooth. Okay, I do have fangs. I do have that coming from my biological evolution. I still got fangs. Actually, two of my kids still do too. But we have evolved to, you know, flat teeth. We're not predators anymore on a physical sense of the word. Our mind is a different thing. We can create weapons and things like that. But our physical body, we are no longer predators. Bigfoot wouldn't want to have to wrestle with a Bigfoot in the woods. And one of the things too that would really scare me is to take my dog. Like, I've got a big dog. She's a big girl. But I would still be really scared and feel kind of irresponsible, maybe, of taking her into a situation where she would be vulnerable against a creature like that. Because from what I hear, they don't really like dogs. Um, Now, another thing I want to say is this aggression towards humans. Do you blame them? Do you really blame them? Like, look what we have been doing to this planet, and these are creatures, these are mammals who inhabit, the woods, and they don't want to live in our matrix, man. They're living on Gaia. They're a part of nature. They don't want to be a part of this bullshit that we've created, our species or alien species. Like, they're not a part of that. And who could blame them? Who could blame them for getting pissed at us when we encroach into their territories? When we bring our toxic energy, when we bring our toxic environments into their perfect environments. Yeah, there's a reason they're pissed at humans, and I don't blame them. So I have to remember, going into their environments, they don't know me. Um, Maybe they can sense that I am a good person. I would surely hope so. Like an animal can sense, we can sense each other. Um, but who knows? And so I think looking into these places where they are, we need to do so with incredibly great respect, awe, and caution. And caution. I love bears, I love wolves, I love all kinds of animals, but I'm certainly not walking into their den because that would be stupid. So we have to remember things like that, even with Bigfoot. You have to, be respectful of their boundaries and their environment. I guess that's all I just kind of wanted to say there. Now, that's a very practical approach to it. Now, there's other ideas about Bigfoots too. And one that I do play with this idea as well, interdimensional beings. Could Bigfoot actually be an interstellar creature? There is that possibility. There have been people, see, this is just it. We have to kind of go through each other's stories and see what resonates with us. So there are people who talk about them being interstellar beings, that they can just kind of into space, into portholes. Why not? Why not? They are so intelligent, that why not? This world that we live in, spaceships. See, I'm a huge believer, actually. Let me just jump into this for a second, because I do believe that aliens are interdimensional. I don't think that they come here in spaceships, which, some do, of course, but humans also have spaceships. So I do believe that there is a setup here in our matrix and the practical world of Gaia, the Earth. I do believe that there are portholes set up in certain places, from all this interstellar intelligence, and Dreamtime is a part of that. I don't know how it all works. I'm just Patricia. I'm making my way through all this, just like all of us. And I also do not give a single person complete credit of information, because I think we are all still learning. We're all here in this matrix. We're all still learning it. I think a lot of us have ideas, experiences to bring to the gathering of information, but I think we're still working through it. I don't just take one person's word for anything, okay? But I have had personal experiences with this dimensional thing, but that's more of an alien story. So I'm just saying that could probably apply to the Bigfoots as well, to the Sasquatch, anything that has, great intelligence that can just elude humanity the way that it does. There's a really big possibility that they come and go. I don't know. They also could be, maybe the portal too, if there is, or practically, because they do live in areas like where there's a lot of rock. Like, remember, Northern Ontario, there's a lot of rock out there. There's a lot of caves. There's a lot of things like that. And again, here out west, in the Rockies, huge sightings out here as well. A lot of rocks, a lot of caves. So they could also be inner earth dwellers. Whew, the possibilities are crazy and endless. It's exciting. Yay, before we forget here, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, all of that good stuff. I appreciate you. Thank you. Because this is a lot of fun. I appreciate doing it. And because Spirit sends me here to do this, I'm sure the other side's going, thanks, she appreciates it. We appreciate it. God bless you all. So anyhow, before I end this for today, I lost track with all of that. Yeah, Bigfoot. If you have any comments, if you have any of your experiences, please leave comments down below. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm not trying to create a big community here, but I do appreciate when people share with each other. I like to look into it and go, hey, that's a really cool story. So yeah, do leave your comments as well. And if you have experiences, let me know where you're from. If you're getting these videos. All right, well, I guess I will end it here, and I will see you in my next video. And I have no idea what that's going to be yet, but I have to go pull it out of the bag. All right, take care. Thank you so much for being here. Please keep your imaginations open, because that is the gateway to other things in our world. So you take care of yourself, stay grounded, love yourself, give yourself the big hugs. All right, take care. We'll see you in the next video.